what does this have to do with this? And how is that related to spiritual awakening and self-aware consciousness? This is what self-aware consciousness means to me. So if anyone knows about this, you would know that you get in here to play a game. Now, why would you want to play a game with this instead of on your TV screen or your computer screen? And that is because it's more immersive. It feels like you're in the game because you can look behind you, you can look up and down and around, and you're submerged in the game. So it has a much more real feeling to it. And you have these little things here that vibrate and move, so it makes it feel like a very real experience. Now I ask you, what if you put on a haptic suit? But I don't think there's an advanced enough haptic suit for what I'm talking about, but so that you could feel anything on your legs and on your hands, and you can feel I think on the ones they have, you could feel if you're being hit, or you can feel if you're being touched. But what if it was as good as your body? Now you would get inside of that game. When you have your headset on, you can only play that game for so long because it gets heavy. You might get a headache. You need to take a break to eat. You can only play for so long. But what if, when you were deciding to play a game, you could pick a haptic suit that could last, I don't know, maybe 100 or so years, or give or take. And you didn't have to come out to take breaks. Or maybe you do when you're dreaming, but when you wake up from sleep, it's so real feeling that you come right back into just thinking that this is the only thing that's real. See, when you wake up spiritually, when you wake up to reality, you realize that you're just in a haptic suit. You aren't this. You are in a game. You are playing a game. Now, that begs to question, well, then who am I really? And that's a deeper question. But I think when people have an awakening experience, whether that comes from a spontaneous awakening, whether that comes from a near-death experience, maybe it comes from plant medicine or psychedelics. I'm not recommending that that's how you do it, because that is an outside source that you don't have any control over. Maybe it comes from you just spiritually seeking answers. You want to know the truth, so you dig and you dig and you dig. And when you dig enough in the right sources, they tell you to look within. When you look within, when you finally quiet, when you put the suit to bed, when you lay the suit down and you let it rest, you power it off, then you can feel that you are more than this. You are actually a soul having a game, kind of like the Avatar movie. You were just placed in an avatar body for a temporary amount of time, playing a game. Now, don't get me wrong. Of course, we know it's very real. It feels very real. There's real pain. There's real hurt. There's real growth. There's real change. There's real fun. And we know that when this body is unalived, you don't respawn instantly with your same friends in the same game. It's a little bit different in that way. But when you figure out that, one, you are more than this, you also figure out that you're a consciousness, and that consciousness you can focus inside a suit. Or when it's not focused inside a suit, you realize that you aren't separated by a suit. You are connected. You can spread out into everything else. You are connected to everything else. You are everything else also. You are your consciousness, but because there's no boundaries to where you end, you also are connected to everything else, so much so that you are everything else. Now, why is this important? Why is it important that you awaken someday spiritually? It is important because everything changes when you realize, one, that it's a game and you're more than just this. One, if it's a game, it's supposed to be fun. You decide the players, you decide the rules, you decide the objectives. You really do. I know it doesn't feel like that because you haven't been taught that this is something you have control over. And that's a different video on how you can control your experience, but trust me, you do have control. And then also, probably most importantly, when you figure out that you're not really separated by this suit, you are actually connected to everyone else that's just pretending to be separate, then all of a sudden you're a lot nicer and you're a lot kinder to everyone else because you realize that's just you in a different suit having a different experience, playing a different game. It makes the world a lot more loving place when we remember. And I dare to say that your anxiety and stress levels lower a lot once you figure out you've chosen to play a game. You're just in this temporary avatar and you have control over the game you play. It does take practice on how to control that game, especially if you've never been taught that you have any control. But once you know, then you can learn. And if you want to power your suit down, if you want to power the game down to figure out the true version of you, then just do like it says, just rest it and try to expand or try to feel the part of you that is you outside of this. Try to feel that consciousness that is you. And I promise you, when you try to feel it enough, you're gonna find it and you're going to feel your connection to everything else, to the earth, to the animals, to other people, to everything. You're gonna feel it and it's going to feel like unconditional love. Because when you boil down to what are you really, you are unconditional love who is pretending to be in a fearful, dangerous game. You're having an adventure and it's fun. So if you're still having fun, then, by all means, stay asleep. But if you're not having fun or you want to control your game a little more, you're going to have to wake up to the fact that you're more than just this. Okay, that was my spiel of the day on how that's what self-aware consciousness means to me.